this is an iHeart podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Tuesday edition of the Clay, Travis, and Buck Sexton Show gets going right now. Election Day edition, in fact. A day of votes and a day of balls. Clay Travis's book goes officially on sale today. The title, easy to remember, easy to spell, B-A-L-L-S. And there are, in fact, two balls of the basketball variety on the cover. Author, Clay Travis. Guys, if we want good books coming out from good people on the right, we got to go buy them, okay? I got to tell you, in the era of podcasting and TV and YouTube and all this stuff, I've got my book coming out in February. February 17th is the day. Clay's book's out today. I'm just bringing this up, though, because the amount of work you do to actually write your book. Clay writes his books. I have written my book, meaning sat there at a computer, not paid somebody else to do it. It's a whole other conversation. Sat there at a computer and did the writing. It is something that I hope people will appreciate on our side of things. And the best way to show appreciation is by buying the copies. Let's get Clay on the bestseller list. Clay will be talking to you more about balls throughout the program. But it is Election Day, and that is going to be, of course, our focus today. And we have a whole bunch of things happening all at once. The New York City race is the one that is getting by far the most attention. New Jersey is going to be a squeaker. I think it's going to be tight. Virginia not looking so good for our gubernatorial candidate, Winsome Sears. Not looking so good at this point, but go out, vote. Don't listen to me. What do I know? I'm some guy just squawking nonsense on the radio. Go vote.
By the way,
matters.
Also AG is going to come down potentially in Virginia to a pinpricks difference based on everything we're seeing. So it's important. Yes, we may lose a governor's race. We may lose different aspects, but the down ballot can be hugely important too. So lieutenant governor is an important job in Virginia. Attorney general. Certainly we want you to go vote for Winsome Sears too. But the attorney general race looks like it could be in Virginia, one of the tightest out there. To Buck's point, New Jersey governor. Republicans win if Republicans show up in big numbers today in New Jersey. Everybody listening to us on WOR and other stations in New Jersey, if you have not voted, go do it. Go vote everywhere because it really is likely to come down to a hair's breadth margin in many of these races.
We have the biggest last minute, I think, change in the voting situation or in the endorsements around that. We have a Trump endorsement of, drumroll, Andrew Cuomo in the New York City mayor's race. This is something that, now, Clay, you've been telling our beloved audience that you think that this is the right move. And there have been some New Yorkers who have been calling you from parts of South Brooklyn where they're very upset. They don't like this talk from Clay about voting for the commie or voting for Cuomo, only voting for Sliwa allowed. Clay does not like the prospects of Sliwa winning this, and so has made the Machiavellian decision to go in favor of a Cuomo as the lesser of two evils. And I do think two evils is the right way to describe those candidates. And we have a whole bunch of reaction to this. Clay, I want you to react. Well, first of all, Stephen Miller, who we know, a brilliant strategist and senior White House aide and friend of the show. This is Cut 7. Here he is saying, anti-Mamdani vote, go vote Cuomo. Play it.
As far as New York is concerned, as you've talked about, as we've said, unfortunately, the anti-Mamdani vote is being split between Cuomo and Sliwa. And President Trump tonight put out a statement being clear that if you vote for Sliwa, who's polling at about a third of where Cuomo is, you're just throwing your vote away. The anti-Mamdani vote, which is really the pro-New York City vote, the pro-America vote, needs to unite behind the leading candidate, and that's Andrew Cuomo.
Man, there you go.
Is everybody going to be as angry at Trump and Stephen Miller for telling you on the day before the election what I have been telling you for weeks, which is Sliwa can't win. And all he is doing is helping Mamdani. And we had him on last week, and I asked him this directly. I think Curtis Sliwa hates Andrew Cuomo, and he has stayed in the race partly out of principle, because it is true that Democrats have created this problem, but also, as he told us, because he truly does not see a difference between Mamdani and Cuomo. And so the idea that he would help either of those guys, particularly Cuomo, who I think he probably hates more than he does Mamdani because they have history together, is a decision that he made. And my concern is that when we get these results start rolling in tonight, that we will see Mamdani not win over 50% of the vote and win because the anti-Mamdani vote was split between Sliwa and Cuomo, and that's what Trump is telling us. Now, Buck, it may also be the case, based on this turnout, that Mamdani wins over 50% and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. And if that's going to end up happening, then all this was for naught no matter what. And it would suggest that at least in New York City, being an avowed socialist candidate doesn't put much of a rock on top of your head of expectations. And so your ceiling is maybe higher than people would have anticipated. So this is where we're going to start to see what the results of this race truly are. And I'm up in New York City right now, and it's all everybody's talking about. And it looks like the New York City mayor's race may set an all-time record for most votes.
I just want to let you know, New Yorkers, that I did encourage Clay to walk around and offer to sign copies for anybody who buys balls of his book, but not to hand out flyers about moving to Franklin, Tennessee. That it's too soon. We have to see how this shakes out. He's not allowed to recruit off the streets of New York while he's there in our darkest hour of communists taking over. So he has agreed. He will sign the book, but he will not give you flyers on how to move, how to get a U-Haul set up for Tennessee.
I will say the numbers out there. Did you see this report that 1 million people say they're going to leave New York City? Now, I think this is a little bit like people who say I'm going to move to Canada if Trump wins. I doubt that most of them would move, but let's say that 100,000, 10% of the million. I don't think that's crazy. I think 100,000 New Yorkers, if Mamdani wins, might say, I'm out. I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Texas. I'm going to Tennessee. What did Davy Crockett say? You can go to hell. I'm going to Texas.
Yep.
All-time great line. CrockettCoffee.com's Davy Crockett, not Jasmine Crockett. But I think there are some people who just say, New York can go to hell. I'm going to Texas, or I'm going to Tennessee, or I'm going to
there certainly will be some outflow, I think, into the tri-state. So Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, outside of the urban bubble. That will happen. I don't know in what numbers. There have been people snapping up real estate. It's one thing to move to Putnam County. It's another thing to move to Palm Beach, right?
Yeah.
It's another thing to decide you're going to, or to Orlando or wherever. So we'll see. I agree, Clay. I think people are frustrated. I don't believe that you'll see a large outflow of New Yorkers, because I think that most of the New Yorkers who are going to leave, like me, left during COVID. I think that pushed a lot further in this direction than anything we're seeing right now. But we'll see. We'll see. The number of people that want to move versus who will move, that is an important distinction as well. I think a lot of people will want to move, but it's hard. You got family and everything else. But tell me this. Do you agree with this assessment of Van Jones this is cut 14, suggesting that the Cuomo endorsement by Trump could, given the political realities of New York, actually hurt Cuomo? Play 14.
Look, I there must be been some kind of handshake deal between Mamdani and Trump for Trump to come out and endorse in New York City.
A multifaceted endorsement and non-endorsement.
I can't think of a worse thing to happen to Cuomo than for Donald Trump to come out last night in this town and say what he said.
What do you think of that?
I think it's probably why they waited until now. Candidly, because there's a lot of early voting that's already taken place. And I suspect that they said early voting, you may juice turnout. I don't think most people on election day are going to be motivated to vote against Trump. I think Trump's calculus is there might be some people out there that haven't decided how they're going to vote. And if it's a close race, that this could swing the difference. My concern now is Mamdani seems to be rolling, Buck, and that if he wins over 50%, then all of this was for naught. I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't have mattered if Curtis Sliwa was in. It wouldn't have mattered how many other candidates were there, because if he wins over 50%, then the majority of New York voters, and a majority of New York voters with a huge turnout, potentially record, are saying Mamdani's our guy. Now, Cuomo, I think, has run a poor campaign, but he's actually pointing out something that is very important. Cut 16. He's saying what Mamdani is promising to people, he doesn't even have the power to deliver on. And I do think that that might be beneficial to New York City. Cut 16.
I call them the TikTok promises that he put forth in the primary. None of them are real. The mayor is going to freeze the rent. People think it means he's going to freeze their rent. No. First of all, the mayor has no ability to freeze anybody's rent. No legal ability. It's done by an independent board that is term appointed, and then it's only for about 25% of the housing units, called the rent stabilized units. So it will never happen. We're going to have a government-owned grocery store, one in each borough. We have 16,000 grocery stores. 5 grocery stores are not going to make a difference. Free buses. It's not up to the mayor. It's up to the state. State said they're not going to do it. It's all BS. It's all campaign rhetoric. None of it will change anybody's life.
Where was this for the past several months? Cuomo finding an ability to make the case against Mamdani. I get it. Hey, this is the final day, the final hours. But wouldn't this have been helpful back during the primary? Wouldn't this have been helpful in the last several months? I just think if Mamdani wins, it's not only a credit to Mamdani's personal charisma and the fact that a lot of people want to believe in the tooth fairy, so to speak, but it's also a function of how poor of a job Andrew Cuomo has done defining the absurdity of the Mamdani campaign.
Well, he has run a terrible campaign. I think there's even been some admission of that from the Cuomo side, that he has not done. He has been not just inept, but lazy too. It's certainly in the primary, in the Democrat primary, he thought he was going to walk away with this. We've seen this happen before in New York. Remember, AOC took out the number 3 Democrat in terms of House leadership. I forget the guy's name. That tells you something. But he just figured, I'm going to win. Didn't campaign, didn't show up, didn't care. And now we've got AOC running around saying crazy stuff. Mamdani was also something of a sleeper candidate here, at least in the primary. And when he took out Cuomo, it was because Cuomo was lazy and thought that he was kind of entitled to represent the Democrats in the city of New York. It's looking like it's going to be Mamdani, but, you know, Cuomo could pull something out here at the very end. Maybe. That's my most hopeful note I can hit on this. And I'm not even very hopeful, Clay. Cuomo's awful. I'm sorry. I know people want to believe that this would be some huge metaphorical bullet dodged by New York. And no, I think Cuomo is pretty terrible too. So even if he wins, we got problems, New York. We got problems.
Also important to understand the way media is going to spin this. I'm looking at CNN right now. Their headline is voters deliver early report card on Trump presidency. Even though it's blue state Virginia, even though it's blue state New Jersey, even though it is deep blue New York City, they are going to argue, if the results are Democrats win, as they are favored to win many of these races, they're going to argue that this is a massive repudiation of Trump and that Americans regret the decision that they made a year ago. Just prepare yourselves.
People vote. Most people vote first and foremost based on how it makes them feel to cast that vote for that person, that party, that candidate. So if you can tap into frustration, resentment, some idea that this is an effort to check or veto or slow down the Trump administration, as absurd as that is, it's again the tooth fairy syndrome, right?
Yes.
This does nothing. Having a communist mayor in New York does nothing to stop the Trump administration, really. But if people feel like it does, you get Mamdani. We'll see. We'll take your calls on this too. WOR listeners, light us up. Tell us what you're hearing and seeing. Unplanned pregnancies are scary. When you're not planning something as huge as bringing another life into this world, there's often that quote unquote easier choice that is being pushed on young women, sometimes even by their families or their own partner. And it can be a very tough moment. But that's why there are organizations that are out there right now as I'm speaking to you, that are saving the lives of tiny babies. This year, preborn clinics saved the lives of 67,000 unborn children by offering pregnant women with an unplanned pregnancy another option. Because when a mom-to-be walks into one of those preborn clinics, she's welcomed with open arms. She's introduced to her baby through an ultrasound, and for the first time, she sees that life so clearly and is offered so many hope-filled choices by preborn. And preborn will continue with her for up to 2 years after the birth of the baby, providing maternity clothes, diapers, counseling, and so much more. Preborn cares for the whole woman, her mind, body, and soul, and the precious baby growing inside her. There are hundreds of thousands of mothers to be in this situation. They need your help. As you're closing out this year, think about a tax-deductible donation to preborn, which can be the difference between life and death for a tiny baby in the womb. Using your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby, or visit preborn.com/buck. All gifts are tax deductible, like I said. Preborn is a 5-star rated charity. Preborn.com/buck, sponsored by Preborn.
Saving America. One thought at a time. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
There's nothing like sinking into luxury. Anabay sofas combine ultimate comfort and design at an affordable price. Anabay has designed the only fully machine washable sofa from top to bottom. The stain-resistant performance fabric slipcovers and cloud-like frame duvet can go straight into your wash. Perfect for anyone with kids, pets, or anyone who loves an easy-to-clean, spotless sofa. With a modular design and changeable slipcovers, you can customize your sofa to fit any space and style. Whether you need a single chair, love seat, or a luxuriously large sectional, Anabay has you covered. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your home. Sofas start at just $699. And right now, get early access to Black Friday savings, up to 60% off store-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Add a little to your life. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Election Day 2025. I am in New York City where the mayoral decision is being made across the city. Potential record high turnout there. Across the river from New York City, New Jersey. And here's the truth. If Republicans show up in big numbers today in New Jersey, then Chitterelli is going to win. If they do not, then he is going to lose, because there's pretty reliable data out there, Buck, that shows that Democrats banked, as they often do, a substantial lead of around 250,000 votes, it appears, headed into Election Day. So the question is, can Republicans in New Jersey get out to the polls and win Election Day and flip control of the state of New Jersey? In Virginia, Winsome Sears open, no incumbent there, but also lieutenant governor and attorney general races that are all super competitive down the ballot. As I mentioned, the mayor's race in New York City, mayor's races in Minneapolis, I believe Cincinnati, I believe Detroit, many of you across the country, the big Prop 50 decision on California. And the headline is going to be, if Democrats do well tonight, that this is a repudiation of Donald Trump, even though that is not fair, because Trump lost Virginia by 5 and lost New Jersey by 5. And these are both blue states, and certainly New York City is among the deepest blue cities anywhere in the country. But this is going to be seen in some ways as a verdict on the first 10 months or so of Trump 2.0. You and I are happy. Most people out there listening to us right now are happy. And this is not the battleground states that will decide things in 2026 or 2028 necessarily, but that is where we are. They want to try to attack Trump, and they will use these results if they can to do so.
This is going to seem like a minor thing to some of you, but I'm telling you it's not. When I go to New York, when I go to visit my family, I'll be up there for Thanksgiving to see my family. The same thing I understand is true in New Jersey. Clay, I go in there and I buy some things in the store, in the grocery store, and they give me a paper bag. and there's no option for a plastic bag. My understanding is that Jack Ciattarelli is going to reverse the New Jersey ban on plastic grocery store bags. That alone for me, I would be a single issue voter. I'm here in Florida. They don't even charge me. They're giving out plastic bags left and right. And let me tell you, I use them for all kinds of things. And I could tell you, I wrap my tennis sneakers in one of those little plastic bags. So
probably pick up dog poop in the plastic bag would be a good guess.
Pick up dog poop in my I am reusing and using the plastic bag all the time. The environmental data on non-use of plastic bags is very clear. It's actually worse for the environment for a whole bunch of reasons. Mostly because of paper is much heavier, requires more fossil fuels to be expended in transport, cannot be reused, often breaks. People want double and triple bags. This is a point of idiocy. And New Jerseyans, I know you've got housing costs and tax and crime and all these other issues, but you fundamentally cannot trust a politician who is in favor of banning plastic grocery bags. I'm in the land of plastic grocery bags here in Florida. Thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis. I'm in the land of plastic bags. Paper bags are trash.
They are.
As in they end up in the trash when they break and my milk and my other things fall all over the sidewalk because a bunch of libs want to believe they're somehow fighting climate change by using these things. They're wrong on the merits. They're wrong across the board. And I'm just saying, I would be a single issue voter for Jack Ciattarelli on the plastic bag thing alone. And then you add all the other stuff. It's really straightforward. The Democrat there, Mikey Sherrill, she thinks the fact that there are all these municipalities, Clay, New Jersey, that have to have affordable housing, they call it affordable housing creation. This is not the way that the market should determine. You know, developers should say, hey, here's where I'm going to make housing. And here, here's the cost of land. Here's the cost of labor in this area. They have screwed up housing in New Jersey so much. It's so expensive to make it because of politicians, and the Democrat just wants to do more of that. And Ciattarelli wants a rewrite of it to say, look, we got to get rid of these stupid mandates and all of the intrusions into the housing market. That's complicated. Grocery bags, not complicated, though. Vote Ciattarelli.
It's also not complicated to say if you want to have lower cost for rent, you need to have more rentable units. I know sometimes we try to overcomplicate things, but the number one way to drive down the price of something is to have more of it. That is the basic laws of economics. And so if you had way fewer illegal immigrants, people would have to pay way less for housing in the New York City area. And so the whole concept of freezing rent actually gets the incentive structure backwards, because what you need to do is encourage building and create far more rentable units and encourage the rehabilitation of some of these buildings that are otherwise not rentable right now. And when you freeze rent, you actually create an economic disincentive to increase the amount of available housing in Manhattan and the New York City area. So this is also basic that the laws of economics do apply across party and across city and across state, whether they're blue or red. And the fact that we can't even have a real argument with Mamdani where people point out this is, first of all, as Cuomo said, he doesn't even have the authority to do it. But if you truly desperately thought that rent was too high in New York City, what you should do is figure out a way to build as many new housing units as possible, which feels like very basic common sense to me, but it runs into, then we got climate issues, or it's so hard to get building permits, and so many of you out there are just fed up with this.
Well, but who's going to do this? This is a huge thing in New York as well. So New York and New Jersey, this is the same problem played out in different locales. California had that really embarrassing, even for California, embarrassing bureaucratic moment of the $1 million porta potty. You all remember that? How many of you live in $1 million home right now? A good amount of you, but the average American home right now is like $400,000 or something. So $1 million home is a nice home. I mean, that's an expensive, depends, in Nebraska, it's a mansion. In Manhattan, it's a 1-bedroom apartment, but $1 million to get you some nice real estate. Clay, they were going to build a solo porta potty, basically, like a glorified public bathroom for $1 million. I think this was in San Francisco, but it was California, the state of California involved. And that should be the signal to everybody. The state is not going to do good things when it comes to building housing or even involving itself in this housing process. This plays out in so many ways. And, even in a place like, I know a friend of mine's a landlord, like a kind of a, big multifamily landlord in DC. And he says that DC, one of the big problems is with building new construction in DC for people to live in, you'll never be able to evict anyone.
Yeah.
Basically. It's going to be impossible. It'll cost you so much to evict people in Washington, D.C. that you end up paying them off to leave. Who wants to go through the headache of, I'm going to build a new 8-unit, multifamily in Northeast D.C., and when half your tenants can say, I'm not paying you anymore, and you end up paying them to leave after they've, screwed you out of 8 months of rent.
No doubt. And, by the way, a couple of stories that are also out there. Let me build on this for a minute, Buck. L.A., a lot of you listening to us right now in L.A. are nodding along. They still haven't gotten the ability to rebuild the areas that were burned down in Los Angeles because getting building permits in Democrat-run cities, even for burned down homes, is virtually impossible. And you know who knows this better than anybody? Trump, who is a builder and is building a ballroom right now because he found out there weren't zoning restrictions in D.C. Speaking of D.C., Buck, all flights at Reagan National have been halted following a reported bomb threat on an arriving aircraft. And so the whole air traffic, yesterday we talked about Houston. There's a report that just came out that starting next week, they may have to restrict airspace because of the government shutdown, meaning whole swaths of the country, they're going to be restricting air travel. I think Democrats are going to come to the negotiating table and get this thing done. As we have told you, as soon as the election is over, they think it's beneficial to them to have the government shut down in these elections. I think that has been clearly their calculus. But I do think that this is a significant story that is building in intensity. And some of you listening to us right now, and I was a part of this in Chicago on Friday because they shut down Nashville's airport for a while when I was trying to travel. A lot of people right now are getting caught up in frustrated, trying to get through TSA, trying to get on planes. This is absolutely ridiculous. So that is all underway as we are speaking to you. Let me also say this. If you go buy my book, I will love you forever. I think that is a simple way. I want this book to be in as many hands as possible. It should be in every bookstore. So wherever you are in the country right now, Balls is out there. And the esteemed President Donald Trump is the only quote on the back, Buck. It says, Clay Travis has a great new book. Clay is a highly talented commentator. Great taste, this Trump, who is tough, smart, and gifted with common sense. He has studied our historic movement from the very beginning. Truly gets MAGA. MAGA loves him. This is the only thing on the back of the book. I thank President Trump for the endorsement. I would really appreciate to get on the New York Times list. They don't want to put me on, Buck. They don't want to put you on. Joe Concha, our friend, just texted me, and he said, hey, I've written all my books. They finally put me on the Times list. I've been a bestseller before, all the books. This is my potentially last best chance, but Concha's listening right now, and he said, dude, they finally put me on the list. Maybe they aren't as communist-laden as they have been in the past, but I need to blow through the numbers. It's like Trump winning in an election. In order to get on the bestseller list. Joe Concha,
though? Who doesn't like Joe Concha? Great guy. Crazy to not put him on the list.
But, this is like the election, right? You're not going to win by a few thousand, right? You have to be way over the finish line. You have to win by thousands and thousands of votes. You have to win a landslide, and that's where I need all of you. Amazon's got it right now. Every bookstore in America. I would seriously deeply appreciate if you guys would go buy it. As Buck said earlier, it's a lot of work to write a book. We actually write books, finish the show, sit down in front of the computer, crank this thing out. It's fun. It's engaging. Also, if you're not a reader, I read the entire thing on audiobook. Are you scheduled to be in the audiobook chamber? I say that because it is somewhat accurate.
Over the Christmas holiday, bah humbug. Ebenezer Scrooge coming for my holiday.
I can't wait till you come back in January because I've recorded the last 3 of my books. You guys know I mispronounce words all the time. They have you there reading, and every time you mispronounce anything or you miss a word or whatever else, they stop you. It is unbelievably challenging to just read an entire book, to say nothing of the fact that you think, oh, I should have put that paragraph there. Why am I an idiot? Why did I have that sentence here? I could have written this better. You just self-criticize the whole time you're doing it, but you can hear me read the entire thing. I did the audiobook. Buck will be doing his. So if you're like my wife and you listen to books more than you read them because you're driving kids around or you're on the road a lot, you're a trucker, you got that option too. I would seriously deeply appreciate if you would go buy a copy of Balls today and drive me up the bestseller.
People are asking what charity you're going to donate the proceeds to, I might add.
Yeah, I'm going to try
TTT?
I'm going to try to send to a bunch. I don't want to break news. We're talking about doing something I'm going to break news significant at Vanderbilt Law School about commitment to free speech principles for lawyers, because I'm troubled by what I've seen so many law schools out there doing when they're not. Basically, the whole idea of being a lawyer is you have to sometimes advocate for things that you might personally disagree with. That's the job. And I see a lot of law schools now saying, well, if it's not the right woke perspective, then we don't even feel like we should teach advocacy here. And I deeply disagree with that, as does my wife. So we're trying to work on something there that could be significant.
So in 20 years, is Uncle Clay going to be able to get little Jimmy Speed into Vanderbilt Law School? Let's get down to brass tacks here.
I should have good pull.
There we go.
I should have good pull.
That's what I'm talking about right there, everybody.
I should have
right down to it.
But I was also on in Asheville, North Carolina. I want to do something. I know we've already done some stuff. Western North Carolina, I did a tour this morning with a lot of our local affiliates. I think there's still a lot of people struggling in the Asheville area, even though it's been a year since the hurricane hit there. But a lot of people have forgotten.
My in-laws are still rebuilding. Rebuilding.
No, I think there are tons of people in that area that need help. So, I'm going to do a variety of things. But I'm excited about, being able to hopefully make a little bit of difference, out there. And look, if you love steaks, burgers, chicken, pork, kind of all sound good, I'll be honest. You want a subscription to Good Ranchers. This is the company connected us with American ranchers doing the hard work. They raise cattle, pigs, chickens the right way. No antibiotics or unnecessary hormones. Their farm fresh proteins much better than the supermarket alternative, where the beef is often imported from other countries. They give you 100% American proteins delivered right to your door. We're subscribers. My kids love it. We love it. And right now, you can get a great offer when you use Clay as the promo code. You get $100 off your first 3 orders, plus free meat for life. $100 off the first 3 orders. As we come in on the holiday season, I bet you're going to be cooking for a lot of people. Do you want good, healthy, American-raised meat products in your home? I do. I bet you do too. Right now, GoodRanchers.com. Ben and his wife Corley have 4 young kids. They made this product for their kids and your kids and your families. $100 off plus free meat for life. GoodRanchers.com. Code Clay for $100 off. GoodRanchers.com. Code Clay.
Want to be in the know when you're on the go? The Team 47 Podcast. Trump highlights from the week. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are joined now by our friend, data guru Ryan Gerdusky. He's a part of the Clay and Buck podcast network. And I know we're about halfway through the day right now, Ryan. So I'm going to lay out some things. You tell me if you would sign on to these and or what you are seeing. If Chitterelli is going to win in New Jersey, Republicans have to turn out in huge numbers today because he's down around 250 or so thousand votes, it appears, based on early voting and the mail ballots, absentees. Virginia is looking bad for Winsome Sears, but Jason Miyares, the attorney general, is in a tight race and has a decent chance. Lieutenant governor is going to be competitive there. And it looks like Mamdani is going to win and potentially win with more than 50% of the vote. Do you sign on to any of those takes? Am I wrong? How would you assess where we are?
No, you're pretty on the money. I mean, New Jersey's reporting county by county, so it's very difficult for me to get a real estimate. Remember, Citarelli, who only lost by 80,000 votes in 2021, he lost Election Day Republican versus Democrat turnout, right? There were more Democrats turn on Election Day in 2021 than Republicans, but he won independents by such a large margin, it overwhelmed whatever Democrat turnout looked like. He won Election Day by a little over 200,000 votes. Right now, it's looking like one thing that's pretty surprising is how many people in Mikey Sherrill's district are voting right now. She has tremendous turnout out of her districts as of noon today. Not all of the counties are reporting. A lot of the big Republican counties have yet to report. Some of the other big Republican counties have reported, but definitely Mikey Sherrill's district is definitely showing up in full force, presumably for her. It's a pretty safe Democratic district. Over in Virginia, what I've sat there and seen right now is there's a Republican counties are kind of in a mix right now. There's counties like Caroline County, Greene County, Norton County, which are doing fairly well. They're coming up in pretty large numbers, but also at the same time, there's other super big Republican counties like Appomattox and Buchanan, which are having horrendous turnout. So Republicans are making up some of the best turnout counties and some of the worst at the same exact time. Places like Alexandria, Fairfax, they're about 50% of their 2024 election day as of right now, 55 to 60. New York City is going to have the largest turnout in mayoral history. We're easily going to blow past, I think, 2 million votes. I think it's pretty safe to say. Largest election ever was in 1993 rather, for Giuliani. That was 1.8 million. This is going to be at least 2 million. Tremendously high turnout. And places like the Bronx, which had not voted at all before Election Day, horrendous voting before Election Day, had tremendously high turnout.
So, Ryan, in the New York race, the thing that you hear about constantly from the Mamdani camp is just variations on cost of living and how Mamdani says he's going to bring those costs down. This is, as far as I'm concerned, like fairy tale stuff, but put that aside for a second. Is it a similar situation in New Jersey? What are the biggest things that are at issue that are actually mobilizing voters and that could make the difference here in turnout when you look at the issues between Sherrill and Citarelli?
Well, the biggest issue, and I cover this on the Numbers Game podcast for a whole episode, one of the biggest issues in both Virginia and New Jersey are electric prices. Electric prices are through the roof. 2/3 of electric price increases, according to CNN, were because, not that that's a reliable source, but 2/3 of the increased cost was because of...
Dory, every time you mention CNN on our show, Ryan, we play a little boo in the podcast track.
Well, I think the article was good, but a tremendous amount of the data centers and the data centers that are popping up everywhere, and how the increased costs are coming in states like that. That's a big thing. What happened in New Jersey and what happened in Virginia is that Democrats tried to nationalize it, right? Make the whole election about Donald Trump and say a vote for me is a vote against Trump. Even Jay Jones is doing that as attorney in the Attorney General race. It was Trump all day, all night. Citarelli's talked a lot about, cost of living, how they'd be effective, an effective administrator. I don't know what's moving numbers right now. Democrat numbers are fairly strong in a number of places, but numbers are strong, by the way, everywhere. I'm looking at races across the country. There's an election in Miami going on right now. Democrat turnout is gigantic right now in Miami. The race elections in Pennsylvania, there's lines around the corner in Pittsburgh to go vote. This is probably one of the highest turnout elections in off non-primary, non-presidential, non-midterm years probably ever.
What's the impact, if anything, of Trump saying Cuomo should be your vote? Sliwa can't win. He waited till the night before the election. There's been arguments that it actually helps Mamdani. At this point, does it have any impact? And prediction from you, do you think that Mamdani is likely to get over 50%, in which case all the talk about Sliwa versus Cuomo versus Eric Adams may not end up having mattered, because if he gets over half the vote, then it doesn't matter how much split vote there was?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not helpful for Trump to weigh in because he's so disliked by 2/3 of New Yorkers. 33% love him or like him, and 2/3 can't stand him in New York. And I don't think that it's necessarily helpful to Cuomo. I think Curtis Sliwa could have done not only more for himself by by teaming up with Cuomo, but also helping the Republicans running down ballot in New York City, which is going to be tremendously important if Mamdani becomes mayor. Can he win? Listen, I can win by 50%. I don't know, and I don't like to predict that. I don't like to make predictions that I know I can't, come true on. But here's what I'll sit there and say. You know who's looking at this election more than anybody is AOC. Because everyone kind of sat there and said, Mamdani has a ceiling. Mamdani has a ceiling. He got so and so many votes in the primary. He can't possibly get more than 1 million votes in a 2 million person election in the general. If there's no ceiling on socialism, AOC is going to look at that and say, okay, it's my time to shine. I'm running for president. And it's not a joke when you say, yes, New York City is not reflective of the entire country, but there's a big chunk of that base in the Democratic primary that sits there and says, no, there's no cap on socialism. Let's go completely full-fledged on this. And then it's just a race to the left of who can get there first, especially in economic issues.
Ryan, on the Virginia side of things, it's not looking good from everything that we've seen, and we talked to you about this in the early voting stage a bit. Winsome Sears, was this just not a race she could win because of the political realities of the state of Virginia right now and the enormous weight that really the suburbs of D.C., which is like Fairfax County and Nova, all those different areas of it, basically, was this not her fault? Or I don't remember a single thing coming from her side of the campaign. Plenty of things coming from the Spanberger that I didn't like, but I was certainly hearing about. But Winsome Sears, I didn't even hear what she was standing for.
She said one thing and one thing only: I will stop transgender bathrooms from happening in Virginia. She said it every single day. That was the only issue she ran on. Look, I'm not here to trash someone who's still, the votes are still yet to be counted, but I'll say so. Winsome Sears, she's doing significantly worse than both the candidate for lieutenant governor and AG. And even before the scandal, she was doing worse than the AG candidate. It's not like she's an unknown person. She's the lieutenant governor currently. She raised a ton of money. She wasn't starving for cash. She ran on only one issue, which was transgender stuff. And I'm not saying it's not great for Republicans. It's a winning issue.
But she needed more than that, it sounds like, assuming that the polls are accurate so far, that alone is not going to propel her to the governor's mansion.
It's just not the most important. It was the only thing she talked about. She didn't talk about anything. And then when she was asked about specifically data centers, because electricity prices are increasing throughout Virginia, she sat there and said, well, they're here to stay and I'm building more of them. And it was very, very, very unpopular. Her original campaign team had a lot to be desired. I talked to a lot of people running down ballot. They did not like what she was doing. And she's not just losing today like the lieutenant governor, who's just a generic Republican. No one really knows a lot about him. He had no money. She's losing worse than him. And it says a lot more about her. It's a bad year. It's a bad year. You lose, you lose. But when you're losing worse than somebody with no money, no name ID, and that's just a generic Republican, that's pretty much on you.
Okay, to what extent do you believe there is any predictive value in these elections as we look toward next year's elections, which have far more consequential stakes?
I think that it looks like, Democrats are voting like it's a presidential election. I mean, that's just the truth of it. They're voting in early elections and like presidentials. Some of these counties I'm looking at in New Jersey, where it was 5-1 in 2020, like blue counties, 5-1 Democrat in 2021, it's looking like 8 or 9-1 Democrat right now. Just Democrat turnout is through the roof in some of these places, especially these white college-educated areas, and they are voting like it's a presidential election. Republicans really need to wake up if they think, even with all this gerrymandering that they're doing and things that are working in their favor, if they think they can win on that alone, they cannot when it comes to this kind of turnout. The turnout is immense, and Republicans need to match it in a significant way and really need to have answers on certain things in the economy, which I think are really pressing people's questions on quality of life.
So any last-minute thoughts for how you think New York is going to go specifically, Ryan, as the votes are coming in right now? Is a Cuomo, this is really what I'm leaning toward, is a last-minute Cuomo miracle in the cards, or have you already written this off?
I mean, listen, I'm not writing anything off. I just sit there and say this. Cuomo needed to do one major thing, give Republicans a reason to vote for him, and he never did. And that is Cuomo's biggest mistake in this general election. In the primary, he didn't do anything right. But in the general, he needed the hundreds of thousands of Trump voters in the city of New York who could sit there and flip an election to say I'm going to vote for Cuomo because he's going to do X, Y, and Z. He's going to support the problem solvers, the common sense caucus, which is Republicans and Democrats in the city council. I'm going to do this on crime. I apologize for COVID. I apologize for bail reform. I'm going to be the guy for everybody now. I'm going to rise above this. And he never did. He only stuck to Democratic politics, and it makes me think. Maybe
is he just kind of a buffoon? I'm shocked at how inept he has been, Ryan. Honestly, like for a guy who was the governor, it's like he's like the who's the little blonde haired sort of idiot king in the beginning of Game of Thrones. Joffrey. He's like a little Italian version of Joffrey.
Also, by the way,
version of Joffrey.
Italian, but also. Mamdani has so many vulnerabilities. Like, it's not as if he's got a, coat of armor on. To Buck's point, it just feels like a super incompetent campaign.
It's super incompetent. And you know what? I had a dinner with I never said this to anybody before. I had a dinner with one of Cuomo's advisors. And we're sitting there, and, I run the 1776 Project PAC, and we're doing well. We have got some money. And he said, "Would your PAC donate $100,000 to the Cuomo campaign?" I go, "You don't have a money problem. You have a candidate problem. All the money in the world's not going to fix that. I give Republicans a reason to vote for you, and they just wouldn't." And you know what? I looked at his entire electoral history. He never had a competitive primary one time in his entire life. He never had a competitive general one time in his entire life. And I think that probably speaks to
it's amazing. He's just not a good he's just not a good politician is actually what has been exposed in all this, meaning he's not even good at pretending to be good at things. So that's disconcerting, absolutely. But yeah. All right, Ryan Grodowski, everybody.
More and more like we're going to blow past the we might hit 2024 general election numbers.
That's crazy, right? That's crazy turnout.
Yeah,
wild.
Nuts.
Go check out everybody. It's a numbers game on the Clay and Buck Podcast Network. Great podcast. Ryan breaks down all of the data. He knows the players. He knows the numbers. You'll learn a lot. You'll impress all your lib friends, all your Mamdani voters next door. Be like, well, only 30% of 20% think that Mamdani's a communist 100% of the time. Thanks for being with us, Ryan.
Thank you.
Anti-Semitism is on the rise. It has been the past couple of years, but this year especially, not just around the world, but unfortunately here at home in America. Jewish schools have been targeted. Synagogues are threatened. Silence is not an option. This is the moment to take a stand. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the front lines providing real help where it's needed most. They're giving food and shelter to Jewish families that feel under threat. They're helping survivors of hate rebuild their lives, and they don't just respond to crisis. They work every day to prevent it. Your gift of only $45 will help support their life-saving work by providing food, shelter, and much more. Support the IFCJ. It's a spiritual stand to take. Call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-4325, or go online to ifcj.org, ifcj.org. Every dollar helps. Don't wait. Be the difference.
News you can count on, and some laughs too. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's be real. Life happens. Kids spill. Pets shed. And accidents are inevitable. That's why you need a washable sofa that can keep up. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you can say goodbye to stains and hello to worry-free living. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, they're kid-proof, pet-friendly, and built for everyday life. Plus, changeable fabric covers let you refresh your sofa whenever you want. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa anytime to fit your space, whether it's a growing family room or a cozy apartment. Plus, they're earth-friendly and trusted by over 200,000 happy customers. Get early access to Black Friday pricing starting at just $699. It's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
We've covered a lot. We're going to keep covering a lot because we've got the New York City mayor's election, the governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey. Go vote, go vote. I voted for my Miami Beach mayor here and commissioners. Clay voted for
Franklin Alderman
Council or the alderman or whatever it's called over there.
I'm not even sure exactly what the alderman does, but I went and voted.
You got to make sure you got the right alderman or else all hell's going to break loose. And, you might have some, I don't even know what, going on in the town of Franklin. You know, you could have people. You could have people.
A little bit of
who
utopia
think
where I live. A little bit.
I
of
would say
utopia.
you could have people thinking they can just drive the golf cart all the way into town. Like, what's going on? You know, civilization, friends. We can't just let these things happen. So, we are going to follow this up. Also, talk a little bit about California, where Gavin Newsom. So much of this it's interesting. It's just tapping into Democrat frustration, Clay. I think that's true in all of these races. It's certainly true Virginia, New York, and California, and New Jersey, where Democrats feel like their party has been, because it has been, outplayed by Trump and the Republicans. They're losing and losing and losing again this year in their opposition to Trump and their opposition to his agenda. So this is just an opportunity to vent their spleen a bit with a vote against whatever the Republican option is. I don't think it really even gets in. For most people, I don't think it really even gets into what they think is going to happen here, because cost of living is such a big thing in New York, in California, in New Jersey, and Virginia too, especially if you get closer to D.C. And Democrats will make it worse, guaranteed. They will make it worse, because even what they do to make it seem like it might improve in the short term is to just squeeze the balloon at one side, right? To redistribute the wealth, to find some way to subsidize. And we see this with Obamacare, which I still wish people would pay more attention to this, Clay. We're still in a shutdown, everybody, which is going to end after the election. All ties in, I might add, right? Democrats, government shutdown, getting people frustrated, making people think, oh, the Democrats are standing up. They're fighting. Well, what are they fighting for exactly? Like, how are they making anyone's life better? Forget about that. They're fighting. It's emotional manipulation in place of an argument. It's very effective, unfortunately, in mass psychology and mass politics. But the Democrat offerings on all this stuff, like Obamacare specifically, is to ignore market reality and to make promises that they can't keep. And you're going to see a lot more of that. Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, I didn't get to yesterday, Clay. I meant this is a little bit of a pickup because I'm about to talk about public safety. We talked about D.C. and the crime situation there and how, who was it? It was Nora O'Donnell was like, well, I just go to work and I don't know if it's safer on the streets, because she doesn't want to admit it on camera that Trump is right. The murder rate since Trump has tried to do his security plan in D.C. is down 60%. Okay. 60% drop in the murder rate. And all crime is down substantially, almost 30%, I think, in D.C. year to date, with a big chunk of that coming since Trump. So it is working. It's not perfect, but it's working. No one thought it would be perfect, meaning that there'd be no murders or no crime. But it's substantially improving the situation. Meanwhile, you know what Gavin Newsom's worried about? Not whether people feel safe on the streets or they're going to be harassed by some maniac. But of course, immigration, play 19.
People are on edge. Communities of color are on edge. I mean, folks scared to death to go out trick-or-treating the other night. Scared to walk their dogs, go to a playground, go to a park, go to a loved one's funeral because they might be disappeared on the basis of what they look like, where they congregate, the language they speak. In the United States of America today, you heard the notion of a private police force that appears to have taken an oath of office to the President of the United States, not to the United States Constitution.
All just hyperbolic, fear-mongering blather. Are they illegals? And also this notion they're being disappeared. They're not being disappeared. They're being detained, processed, and returned to their country. Free flight back to where they actually should be.
I think we just have to prepare for this. I know it's still a year away from the midterms, and I know we're not going to start the 2028 presidential cycle until January.
It's going to be Newsom. It's going to be Newsom.
It's going to be Newsom. And he's going to lie blatantly like this. Do we still have Gavin Newsom? I don't think we played it yesterday, but we played Newsom saying the one, Greg, you can grab that. I think we had it yesterday, but when Newsom said it went mega viral. I hate when politicians lie, and he's like moving his hands and moving his face awkwardly. And it's just so diabolically sinister because I don't know that anybody lies more than Newsom. And by the way, there's a difference between getting a fact or two wrong in sort of hyperbole and blatantly lying. And Gavin Newsom is just such a blatant liar. And the reality is, I think you have to have a blatant liar on the ticket because Democrats are wrong about everything. I mean, they really are, by and large. It used to be you could be a reasonable person and you could look at the two parties and you could say, hey, you know what? I disagree with my party on this perspective or this issue, even though I may vote the other way. I can't even think of what Democrats are. It used to be Democrats would say, hey, we know health care. They're destroying everything having to do with insurance. Nobody can even afford health care anymore.
If you are looking for something that Republicans, and this is going to tie into another news item, that Republicans, I think, look back on and say, okay, we actually got that one wrong. I think it's the Iraq War, as a party, which Trump, among others, have said we were on the wrong side. We weren't on the wrong side of Afghanistan and post 9/11, but the Iraq War thing. But the thing about the Republicans there is Democrat establishment went along with it too.
Yeah.
Right? Hillary Clinton, all the Schumer, all the Democrats were in favor of it as well. But the charge was led by a Republican administration, to be fair. And that included Dick Cheney, who just passed away. And we haven't mentioned this, but Dick Cheney what is he, 84, I think? He just died in
early this morning.
Yeah, in the last 24 hours. He passed away. I remember, meeting the vice president on several occasions when he was the vice president in the Oval Office. And I will tell you, Clay, we had multiple wars going on, a very different Oval Office experience as a young CIA analyst briefing then Vice President Cheney than what we got when Clay and Buck show up to hang out with Trump in the Oval. I mean, just night and it didn't even feel like the same movie set, the same universe. It's just a totally different feeling. There was an intensity and a solemnity under those Bush years because of 9/11 and everything else. And you walked in there and you made sure your jacket and tie were crisp. And it was, yes, Mr. President, no, Mr. President. We went in there and saw Trump and he's like, we got the owner of the Saints. Come on in here. We got JD. We got, it was like we were
Go check out the new gilt that I put in the, cabinet
just
room.
Showing us cool stuff. He's like, isn't it beautiful? Look at this painting. Redid this painting. Beautiful painting. It was just a very different feeling. But yeah, Dick Cheney, passed away. He became very controversial. I think more controversial actually in some ways after he left office with the legacy of the, Iraq War.
And also, to be fair, he and his daughter refused endorsing Kamala over Trump in the 2024
I knew his daughter
election.
did. I actually forgot that he did until you just mentioned that to me now, which is insane.
Yeah.
And that's personal bitterness overriding political. Look, I think he just passed away, and I know we're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. I'm not trying to speak ill of someone who just passed away. I think Dick Cheney was a patriot. I think he loved his country, and I think he did what he thought was best for the country. And I think a lot of the stuff that was used to attack him about how it was like he was enriching himself, that actually wasn't true.
And even the unitary chief executive attacks on Dick Cheney, I mean, he believed that the president had the authority to make important decisions.
I was in the Oval Office, and I could tell you that the vice president, watching them make decisions and discuss at various points, and the vice president was deferential to George W. Bush as president. This notion that he was the puppet master and Bush, the media, because they could get away with this, Clay. I'm not trying to get diverted. I know we got election day here, but I think the media lied to people so much about George W. Bush that they have this complete. They weren't, because of Trump and the way he did things by going right to them and bypassing the media, people's conception of who George W. Bush is, a lot of just everyday America, is a complete caricature. The guy was not dumb. The guy was not shy about leadership and making decisions, and was actually very on. He wasn't a scholar of Middle Eastern history, but guess what? Neither is Kamala or Biden or any of them, right? But the notion that he was some sort of buffoon and was bumbling and an idiot is absurd. Not true at all.
Not only that, I mean, it's funny. They remember early in Trump 2.0, it didn't work because it's Trump. You can't call somebody a dictator and then be like, they tried to say that Trump wasn't president. Remember, they tried to say President Elon. They tried to demean the person in the chief executive office, the president of the United States. And so the argument when Bush was there was, Cheney's the actual president. They tried to argue, Trump's there, Elon's the president. You ever hear anybody argue that Obama wasn't the president when Obama was in office? You ever hear anybody argue Clinton wasn't the president when Clinton was in office? Whatever you thought of their vice president. Now, to be fair, during Biden, people may have accurately said it's actually Obama who's still president.
And to be fair, during Clinton, there may have been moments where he was busy otherwise, occupied, not really with the running of the country. Indisposed would be one thing you could say about Bill Clinton. But I think so. Cheney passed away. The guy he did have a remarkable career, and I think the best thing that can be said for him, or the things that can be said for him, is he loved his country and he tried, but he was wrong on some big stuff, and unfortunately, he got particularly wrong toward the end about Trump and the trajectory of the country. I think it was personal because of the repudiation of Bush Cheney by Trump.
I think that's exactly right. He was embittered.
People are going to get mad at me. They're going to say he's a warmonger. The guy just died. I'm trying to be charitable. He served his country for many, many years. And I think he loved America. He was willing to go to the mat against the jihadis. I will tell you that. And we needed people that were willing to go to the mat.
You can love your country and make awful decisions.
Correct.
Those aren't opposite things. And I think that
people always throw Neville Chamberlain under the bus. Yeah. Was he wrong about how things would go with the Nazis? Sure. But people forget that World War I had just destroyed an entire generation of Europe, including Englishmen and people from the United Kingdom, and he was hoping we wouldn't have to do that again, right?
Yeah.
He may have had the wrong remedy, but he didn't want to go to war. I mean, that's this reasonable thing to do.
And to be fair, I read the oral history recently in the last year or so of 9/11 because I wanted to experience that. Remember, they thought the White House was going to get hit, and Cheney was underground monitoring 9/11 while Bush was up in Air Force One, and nobody could get in touch with him because they were trying to keep him safe.
People forget this because they always think now of KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, in his pulled T-shirt and getting arrested and all this stuff. They were planning multiple 9/11s,
yes.
And that's real. That is fact. They were going to keep coming at us with all kinds of stuff. The war on terror was absolutely necessary, and those of you who fought it should always remember that and always feel, honored in your service for the fact that they were coming for us. It wasn't just 9/11. There was more after that. And yeah, it was the fight against it wasn't perfect. No war. The fight is never going to be perfect, but it was a necessary one. It was Iraq that was the expansion of it that I think was a strategic miscalculation. But I don't think the people that said, I got hit with this even a while back. I was on a podcast. People said, "Oh, it was all so Cheney could make money through Halliburton."
Yeah,
that's actually not true.
Yeah.
You can say that he was a warmonger and he made the wrong decision and it was terrible, but he actually didn't do this to make money through Halliburton for himself. And I like the criticisms to be rooted in reality.
One thing that stood out to me as I reread to experience the history of 9/11 that is really kind of crazy to think about is there was almost no communication to the president because Air Force One wasn't able to get telephone signals. They weren't able, obviously the internet was not in place. They got spotty every now and then television. So Cheney had to manage much of 9/11 because the president, they were afraid of where the next strike might be. He was just up in the air. They didn't have any idea. And so I would encourage you to go back and do some reading about that day.
They could have had 50 planes hijacked, given how easy it was to hijack the ones that they did. They could have had 50 of those planes turned into essentially massive guided missiles with hundreds of innocents aboard. We had, it's crazy to think about the worst terrorist attack ever in history, and it actually could have been a lot worse.
Yes. Yes.
And it would, by the way, it would have been worse if not for, those brave souls.
Shanksville, Pennsylvania on United Flight 11.
That's exactly right. Let's roll. If that does, Beamer, I believe, was it Todd Beamer?
Beeman, I think, or was it Beeman or Beamer? You may be right.
If it's not for him and saying let's roll, that plane ends up. We have a smoldering United States Capitol or White House. Everybody, that's how close we were.
United Flight 93, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly.
But to be fair to Cheney's memory, we needed a wartime consigliere, so to speak, after 9/11. I'm not saying that everything was good or right, but I mean, the guy did step up and a lot of bad guys needed to be taken off the battlefield. All right. Money gets tight this time of year. Christmas gifts, holiday travel, donations you want to make. So let's just save you money with something that is just going to be better for you all around. Pure Talk, my friend. You can save hundreds of dollars a year. In fact, the average family of four saves over $1,000 a year when they switch from their big wireless company to Pure Talk, because Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on Pure Talk's lightning fast 5G network. Plus, right now, they'll take an additional 50% off your first month. That's immediate savings. Immediate savings, 50% off your first month. Keep your phone and your number if you want, and you can keep a lot of your own money, too. Dial pound 250, say the keywords Clay and Buck, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will switch in as little as 10 minutes, plus save 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck to switch to America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Mic drops that never sounded so good. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.